Hi everybody, I'm Bob Kovacs, and this will be an absolutely basic introduction to Adobe Premier CC. Now as I speak, it's 2019. I just did an update to Premier CC a couple of weeks ago. It is the latest version of Premier CC, but since Premier is a subscription product, it gets updated all the time. So what I show you today could conceivably be different in a month. Now, I don't think the basics are going to be different. Some of the advanced stuff will be different, but I'm going to go ahead and show you the absolute basics so you know how to open the program, get started, load files into it, move files onto the timeline, and then export or render them into a final finished video. Just the absolute basics. One thing I'm not going to show you is anything about titles. Titles start to get a little complicated. So titles will not be in this video. I plan to do another video where I'll talk about titles, but this will just be the basics. So let's get started. Of course, you will need Adobe Premier CC loaded on your computer. I already have it on my computer. So now I'm going to go ahead and open it up. When you open Premiere, you come up with this screen. It asks you if you want to select an existing project or if you want to do a new project. We're going to do a new project. Now, when you do a new project, it's going to come up with the default name of Untitled. So I'm going to go ahead and click on the New Project button. And you see up here it says Untitled. I'm going to just type Test. So I'm going to do Test Video is going to be the name of our project. Otherwise, you leave all the other defaults here just the way they are and go ahead and edit with those. There's no reason why, as a beginner, you're going to need to touch any of the stuff on this page. And click on OK down here. And you come up to the basic editing workspace. Now it's time to go ahead and load our files into our library. This is our library down here. And once we have our files loaded down here, we'll pick them one at a time, bring them up here, make some adjustments to them, and then move them over to the timeline to do the actual editing. So once you have the workspace open, now you have to load your files into the library, which is down here on the left. So go up to File and Import and navigate to that folder. In this case, it's a folder that I've called Test Video. Click on one of the files, use Control-A to highlight them all. Click on Open, and now all the files will load down here. Now you'll notice that they are all kind of jumbled up. This one begins with the letter S, it says Switch Discussion. This one begins with the letter V, it says Voice. And here we got M and V and I and B and C, and everything's sort of a jumble. So it's kind of hard to find files when they're all jumbled up like that. But if you come down to this button, you can go up here and sort by name. And now all of these files will be sorted in alphabetical order, which makes them a lot easier to find. So I've got B's at the top and V's at the bottom. Everything is now organized in the library. So what you need to do is to take the clip that you want to edit with first and move it from the library up to the preview section. The way to do that is to double click on the clip, and here it is now in the preview section. Now once it's up here, you need to trim it, trim the beginning and trim the end so that it's ready to move down into the timeline and begin editing. Now up here in this source intro view, see it says source. In this source view here, you'll notice there are some other tabs. You want to be on the source tab. So now that we're on the source tab, what we want to do is to find the beginning and the end points of this video clip. This is called the playhead. As you drag the playhead back and forth, it shifts where you are in the video. I'm going to take it to the beginning. Now if you're not at the beginning, this button here will take you to the beginning. Once I'm at the beginning, I'm going to play it and see where I start. Hi, everybody. Okay, right there. So I'm going to take it to there. And now I want to click the button that will trim this video clip so that it starts right at the beginning where I want it to start. Now, if we look at this one, it says Mark Out. Well, I don't want to mark the out of this clip. I want to mark the in of this clip, but it's hidden over here. Here's the mark in. Oh boy, did this throw me for a loop when I first started working with Premiere. And I'll show you a little tip. This window up here, this little box that you're working in, if you drag it over, Now the Mark In button will appear over here. See, that says Mark In, and this is Mark Out. So what I want to do is I want to mark the in point of that video clip. That's where it will start once we edit with it. Now I'm going to move this along. Replace the brake light switch, and I'll show you how to do that in this video. Okay, that's the end point of that clip. So now I'm going to click on the Mark Out button. So now I have this clip all ready to drag down onto the timeline and start editing. Okay, now that I have this clip adjusted down here, I'm going to drag it over onto the timeline. It won't appear onto the timeline until I let go of the mouse button. And there we go. Now I have another playhead here that allows me to play this video over here on the timeline. 2014 Mazda 3. Lately, when I went to... Now notice over here, all the way on the right, that is a volume meter that tells me how loud my audio is. And if you look at it, I stepped on the brake pedal like I know. You'll see that it's good on the left channel, but there's nothing on the right channel. That's because the microphone that I'm using is a single channel microphone. It only records on one channel. So here's the very first thing I'm going to do. I'm going to click on this clip, and then I'm going to do a right mouse click, and this here says audio channels. I'm going to click on audio channels. And this brings up the audio channel source menu. I'm going to say that the right channel will actually be the left channel. So only the left channel will be used, and it'll be used on both sides of the stereo speaker system. So both left and right will be the contents of the left audio channel, and click on OK. And now, if you look down here on the timeline, I've got two sets of audio waveforms down here. You couldn't hear this before, but the sound was only coming from this speaker. Now it'll be coming from both speakers. Normally do, and the green light on the start button didn't come on. Now that's something that may or may not affect you, but just in case it does, that's the way to do it right there. And we'll watch this to the end of the clip to make sure it looks right. Enables the green light to come on is the brake light switch. So I'm going to replace the brake light switch in this video and show you how to do it. Let's take a look. Okay, I talk about the brake light switch. So the next thing I'm going to do is I'm going to bring a video clip in of the brake light switch so that you get a good view of it. So down here in the library, this says cutaway brake light switch. That's the video clip that I want to insert over what's already here on the timeline. So I'm going to double click on it, get it up here. And what I want to do is I want to see me swinging that up into the image like that. See how that goes? I want to get it before I swing it up, right there. So that's my in point. I'm going to mark that as the in point. And then I'm going to swing it up. And I'm going to mark that as the out point right here. So now I've got that clip. I'm going to drag it over onto the timeline. Like that. Let's take a look at it. And I just couldn't live with that. So one of the primary components in the chain that enables the green light to come on is the brake. So that's not exactly where I want it. So I want to move it a little further along where I talk about the brake light switch. Right there. Let's try that again. The chain that enables the green light to come on is the brake light switch. So I'm going to replace the brake light switch in this video and show you how to do it. Let's take a look. So there, I brought the brake light switch in to give everybody a close-up view of what the brake light switch is. Now, there's a little bit of a problem here. This is the video for the brake light switch. These are your video tracks, and down here, these are your audio tracks. So this is the main video on the timeline, the main audio on the timeline. Now I've got audio associated with that brake light switch video clip. I don't want that audio. So the thing to do is to click on that clip, do a right mouse click, and come up to unlink right here. That's going to unlink the video from the audio part of that clip. Now I click on the audio part. Now the audio part is there. I can just hit the delete button like this, and it goes away. So now only the video associated with that clip of the brake light switch will show. components in the chain that enables the green light to come on is the brake light switch. So I'm going to replace the brake light. Now I'm going to talk about these timeline tracks just for a moment. Again, this is our main one, the main video timeline track, and this is a little insert track that we put on top of it. Whatever you put on top on higher and higher tracks, that will take precedence when it comes time to seeing what will be in your final video. So if I put something on the track above the track where this is showing, that will show instead of this switch. So you want to be sure that you understand that. Whatever you put on higher clips takes precedence when it comes time to show your final video. Now this switch, I'm going to make it a little bit longer. To make it a little bit longer, you click on that item and you go to one end and you can drag it over like this. Now I've dragged it over as far as it goes. There's no more video beyond that point to enable me to drag it over. That's too far though. I'm going to bring it back. In fact, I'm going to set it so that it lines up with the end of the other clip. Primary components in the chain that enables the green light to come on is the brake light switch. So I'm going to replace the brake light switch in this video and show you how to do it. Let's take a look. And now I'm ready for my next clip. The next clip that I used will be down here in the library. It's called Switch Discussion. Right here it says Switch Discussion. Double click on it and it brings it up here to the clip window. You'll sometimes get that yellow screen that says Media Pending while Premiere is figuring out what to do with the clip. I want to go all the way to the beginning, so I click on the go to the all the way back to the beginning button and play it. Now I've got, and there I am starting to talk about it, so I'll back the playhead up. And that will be my in point. I'll go toward the end. Them actually work in some older ones as well. And that's the out point right there, so I'll click on the out point. So now I have this all set up. I can bring it over onto the timeline, and there it is. Now if your timeline, if you need to look at things, you'd like to stretch things out so you could look at things more carefully, that's this down here. By clicking on this and making this smaller, you're now stretching your timeline out. You're stretching it out so that if one frame was this big before, now it's this big. So you can actually get in there and make finer adjustments to your timeline. So just keep that in mind. It's this down here. Now if you click in the middle, you can use that to drag the timeline back and forth. But if you click on one of the ends, you can make it so that it's bigger or smaller. I'm going to go back to where it was before so that we can see more of what I'm working on. There we go, like that. So now here's what it looks like when I go back and look at what I've edited so far. I just couldn't live with that. So one of the primary components in the chain that enables the green light. Up comes the brake light switch. The brake light switch. So I'm going to replace the brake light switch in this video and show you how to do it. Let's take a look. Now I got this switch from... And now I'm talking about the brake light switch. And again, there's audio only in the left channel. So one of the first things we need to do is to get the audio into both channels. So let's stop. We'll do a right mouse click, come up to audio channels, select right here. So now both of the audio channels that we're listening to contain only the source that's on the left side. And now I've got audio waveforms on both the left and right side. The third video in the sequence here in this final edited program is called Brake Light Switch Point. So actually where I point to the switch location in the car. I know that I actually point to the switch relatively late in this video clip. There's a lot of false starts as I try to hold a camera under the dashboard and have a finger free for pointing to the switch itself. So I'm going to move it along and I want to wait till I just bring my finger in. Here I'm starting to bring my finger in, so I'm going to back up where my finger is off screen, and that will be my in point. I've now set my in point. And now I'm going to go right along, And there I'm pointing, pointing, pointing. And then I pull my finger away. I'm going to leave it up there, still pointing, and that will be my out point. So now this is ready to be brought over onto the timeline. Now again, this has the problem where it has both video and audio, and I know that this audio here is not good. I actually made a voiceover track to work with this video clip because this video that you're seeing, or rather this audio that you're seeing down here, is recorded with the video in the camera that I'm trying to hold under the dashboard. So I'm going to get rid of this video, get rid of this audio, and the way to do that is to do a right mouse click, and I'm going to unlink. That unlinks the video and the audio. Now I'm going to click on the audio and hit the delete key, and that makes that audio go away. So now on my timeline, I have a place on the timeline where there is no audio. Well, I have a voiceover track for that I recorded, and that's voiceover 1. And here it is. Now you can look at the waveform. You can see that it's essentially flat till it gets to this point here, and then it's essentially flat all the way here on the right. So that means that the good audio, if you can see this very thin blue line, the good audio starts about there. I'm going to hit my in marker, and I'm going to go over here to the end of the audio and hit the out marker. So there's my audio clip. Let's go ahead and listen to it. The switch itself is located under the dashboard above the driver's legs. If you follow the brake... So that is a description of where to find that switch. So now I have it down here. It's all set, all ready to go. I'm going to bring it over on the timeline. Uh-oh, you see what the problem is? My video is not nearly as long as my audio. And there's actually another problem that we've already discussed. My audio is only on one channel. So the first thing to do is to put the audio on both channels. To do that, do a right mouse click, come up here to Audio Channels, and click on Left and OK. And now you'll see I've got the audio waveform on both channels. But what am I going to do over here? This video clip is not long enough to go with the audio clip. Somehow I'm going to have to stretch out this video clip to go with the audio clip. Now I could stretch it out and use more of the clip where I'm fumbling underneath the dashboard, but I don't want to do that. What I want to do is I want to slow this clip down so that instead of playing at 100% speed, it plays at something less than 100% speed, and that will slow the clip down. So I look for that feature here, and it's called speed duration. See, it's playing at 100%. I'm going to slow this down to 40% and see where that takes me. Okay, this clip got bigger. In fact, it looks like it's almost exactly the right size. Let's see what it looks like when I play it back. Other ones as well. The switch itself is located under the dashboard above the driver's legs. If you follow the brake pedal on up, the metal arm of the brake pedal, you'll find the plunger that goes into the brake light switch. Okay, that looked perfect to me. So as you can see, you can manipulate the video. If I hadn't told you that I slowed that down, you probably wouldn't know that I did. So that's one way to take a clip that is already the right size for what you want to show, but you need to align it with another clip. You can use the speed function to either speed it up or slow it down to make it be the right length that you need it to be. So I'm going to do a crossfade effect right here between the previous video clip and the video clip where I point out the brake light switch. Now in my actual video, this is a cut, not a crossfade. Here I'm going to demonstrate a crossfade because that's such a simple effect that most people are going to want to know how to do it. It's really a basic thing. So to do a crossfade, you have to open the effects panel, which will show up over here. So we need to go over to Window, Effects, and now it opens the effects panel over here. Notice when it opened that it squished things down over here. So you may have to realign things to get back to where you were. Looks like I'm in a good spot right there. Now we're going to go to Video Transitions because a crossfade is a transition. we're going to go to dissolve and to cross dissolve, excuse me. Cross dissolve, I'll drag it down to where these two videos meet, and you see it put a tiny little box there. I'm going to move this over, and then I'm going to make that little area bigger. I'm going to blow it up by shifting the marker down here. And there's my cross dissolve. You can see it says cross dissolve. Now I can come here and adjust the time of that. I can make it longer or I can make it shorter. And if you watch the picture, you can see what happens. You see it fades from one video to the other video. So that's how you add a cross dissolve. Now there's lots of other effects over here. You can do whatever you wanted to do, but I wanted to show you how to do a cross dissolve, and that's how you do it. Notice that although it cross dissolved between the two videos, it didn't really do anything that it shows anyway between the two audios. So you might want to fade one audio out and fade another one in, but that's a technique I'm not going to show you in this video. Now, even though this video is relatively short at about 2.5 minutes or so, it still is going to take a lot of time for me to go through every edit the way I did for the video. So if you want to see what the final video looks like, as I said before, just go down to the link that's in the description box and you can see what the video looked like there. I wanted to show you these basic editing techniques so you have some idea about how to get up and running in Adobe Premiere. So now I'm going to go to the next step in the process. Sure, you can edit like this, but how do you get the edited video out of Premiere? That's called rendering. So I'm going to show you the process that Adobe calls export, to export your media. Everybody else calls it rendering. So we're going to go ahead and take the finished video and I'll show you how to render that. To render a clip, go up to File, down to Export, and then to Media. And that will bring up the dialog box to do a render. Now they call it exporting, but I'm used to calling it render. Now you can name this whatever you want to. So we're going to name the final program There we go. That's the name, save the name, and now the name will change here. If you want to change it to something else, all you have to do is click on the blue name there and you can change it to whatever you want. You could also save it wherever you want here. You could save it in a different location. In fact, it looks like I will in fact save it in a different location. So now you can come down here to this slider and you can adjust the size of the video. I am shooting 4K video, so I have 4K numbers in here. Again, if it's in blue, you can click on it and change it. I'm going to leave it the way it was. I'm going to keep scrolling down. Now you can do 2 passes or 1 pass. Just leave it at 1 pass. You can set the final bit rate for your video. Now this is 50 megabits is the target bit rate, with a maximum bit rate of 52.36. Again, if it's in blue, you can click on it and change it. So we'll say 100 there and 105 here, perhaps. That's the same quality, the same bit rate of the video that I'm uploading. And everything will just leave that way. And now we come down here to export. Oh, up here, you might want to select your export format. This is H.264 is pretty much what everybody's doing. That's what your cell phone has. That's what our camera shoots as. So you can do H.264. But there's lots of other formats in here. I would suggest, unless you have a special application, you go to H.264 for that. And that's really the only other stuff that you need to worry about. All of the other things are selected the way they should be by default. And then click on Export. And now it's actually rendering the video. It'll tell you how much time is left. Keep in mind that this video is about 2.5 minutes long, maybe a little bit longer, maybe 2 minutes and 35 seconds. So the render time is taking somewhat longer than the actual video time. It can take a surprisingly long time for that final 100% to be done, but we're all done. Now that it's all rendered, let's go ahead and find it. And here it is here. This is the video that we just rendered. Now, my actual video had a little music and this opening graphic.
Hi everybody, I'm Bob Kovacs.
And there I am.
This is my 2014 Mazda 3. Lately, when I went to...
This is a regular MP4 video, MPEG-4 video, H.264. You can go through it just as you would like.
If all goes well, it should only take about 10 minutes or so.
And there's a little ending graphic. So those are the basics of how to edit with Adobe Premier CC. Now, if you want to see the actual finished video that I created, the video that shows how to replace the brake light switch in my Mazda, you can go to the link in the description that's down below. I'll have the link down there. Just click on it if you want to watch that video. I think it came out pretty good, actually. And that is the actual basics of getting started with Adobe Premiere. There's lots more to show you. I will work on future videos, but this one is the place to start. It's just the basics. Hey everyone, I'm Bob Kovacs. Thanks for watching.